Hey, what is going on YouTube? This is Mary Dragoon coming to you from the wild world of Magic the Gathering Arena, and today I have a special video I have shared on some of the Facebook pages how I've gone about or shared some of my animated artwork. I've taken original Magic the Gathering artwork from cards and animated it, and I want to share with you guys how you go about doing that. So first of all, before we get started, I want to say thank you to Ben Sound. You can see them here on the screen. This is where we got our background music from today. If you guys are making videos out there in YouTube land and need some background music, please check them out. Now let's go ahead and talk about where I get my images from. First of all, the best place that I have found so far is to just go right to Art of MTG and .com, and they're going to have all kinds of art from different sets, and here is some examples of artwork that is available right now. We're just going to scroll through here. So we're going to do Jai's Animating Inferno, and I've looked through the Magic the Gathering page and I've chosen the card. Now on my iPad, now the program we're going to use I'll show you in a moment. We're just going to save that. If you're on a computer, you can do the same thing. Now I'm using iPower Mirror, which is an application that allows me to mirror my iPad screen, and I'll be using my Apple Pen. You don't have to have this. This just makes some of the small detail work that we're going to do a little easier, but it's definitely not necessary. So let's jump into the actual application that we're going to use, and this application is available on both iPad and PC, so you can do either way, and it is called Plotograph. And I am a Plus member with them. I bought the program on the App Store a long time ago when it first released, and I've done some work. So let's just take a look at a finished work. This is what's going to happen, and I'll explain what all of this stuff is in just a moment. And this is how it turns out when it's finished. And give the iPad a moment to actually load the image. And now you'll see the magic is kind of flowing out of the wand and around the caster. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit this little plus symbol down in the bottom hand corner, and that's going to bring us up to our photo library, and we're going to choose all photos. You can see I've been doing a lot of things here, and we're going to choose Jai's Animating Inferno as our card. Now this card's going to be full of motion. Most things on the card is going to move. So the first thing that I want you to look at, down along the bottom edge, you'll see there's an option for mask, there's an option for animate, there's a play button, there's an FX button, and then there's a crop. We're not going to crop this image. We're going to go ahead and go into the mask option, and you'll see there's a slider here. We can shrink or raise the mask size, and then if you touch the bottom, it turns it into an eraser, which you can shrink and raise as well. So you can switch between the two. If you tab on the Animate tab, you're going to get lots of options. I don't mess with any of these on the bottom. I like to leave it set to infinity because I'm going to animate it and have things flow in the direction that I want them to, and I don't want to change that at all. And underneath the animation option, you're going to have anchor, play, chain, and select. We're mostly going to use the animate, the anchor, and the select option. I typically don't use chain when I'm animating an image. Alright, let's talk about the different things. To animate something, you will have animate highlighted, which we have here. We've just tapped our animate button, and we're going to draw on the screen in the direction we want that part of the image to flow. So just for example, the flame that's coming out here, we would want it to flow in this direction, and you can see I've drawn a little arrow in the middle of the screen. Now if I hit play, the entire image is going to flow in that direction. You can see that. And we're going to control that with a series of anchors and masks. So the first thing that I actually want to do, I'm going to erase this dot that we've put up on the screen. The first thing I'm actually going to do with the image, and the first thing I do with all images, is I mask an image. And when you mask the image, you want to look at things that are definitely not going to move and things that you don't want the image to slide over. So if we look at Jaya here in the center on fire, we obviously want the flames to move around and over top of her body. So we don't want to mask her because a mask is going to stop all motions. But things that we would want to do that with is maybe this rock down here in the corner. So I'm going to double pinch with my fingers, so to both fingers, and spread the image. If you're on a computer, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And I'm going to take a close look at this rock, and then of course the Wizards of the Coast logo I like to leave on my images as well. And I'm going to take my Apple Pen And I'm just going to go ahead and, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and color in right over top of Wizards of the Coast. And this is just to make sure that their logo stays clear and readable. I'm going to anchor the entire perimeter of an object. So we're going to put lots of anchors all the way around this rock. And what that's going to do, we're going to do the same thing with the Wizards of the Coast logo. I'm going to anchor it down. That's going to keep it from moving, and I'll show you an example of that right now. So now that we've sort of anchored the entire rock, if I go back to my animate option, and let's just say this lava flow back here is going this direction, so I put two little arrows there. If I play that, you'll see the entire image now is moving in that direction, but the rock isn't moving, and neither is the Wizards of the Coast logo, which is exactly what we want. Now everything else is going crazy, but that's fine, and that's not too big of a deal. Now, something else that I want to point out, let me just erase these two little animation circles that I created. You have to go into the select option to erase anything. But if you notice, the rock didn't move. However, if I were to animate the inside of the rock, if I put an animation marker in there, now the rock is going to flow, and everything outside of the rock is not going to flow. And that's very useful if, and we're going to use that on this image, if, for example, that we have a section we want to animate in a different direction or at a different speed than everything else. And as you can see with this image, it's definitely something we're going to be doing. So we've got that rock all blocked out. We have two rocks over here in the other corner, and we're going to want it to do the same thing. And I'm going to anchor this as well. Let's look over the image and see if there's any more rock outcroppings. There's some here. We're going to go ahead and block these ones in. Alright, so now that we've anchored the major rock formations on the image, and I'm going to look at the image and think about some things that we don't want moving. So the next thing is going to be our man here in the middle, who's in the middle of the flame. So I'm going to go ahead and block him out. And you can see where the flames are coming up his backside. I'm going to leave all that available for creating some motion. So we're just, basically all we're going to do is just follow along the outline of his body and just anchor everything down. Now his hand, we may have to go in and mask his hand off just to keep the fingertips from flowing around. So that masks off his body. Alright. Now we have, I believe this is Jaya in the center here. And there's a couple of different parts to this image. So there's the bright yellow section of her body, and we want that to flow at a different rate than everything else. So I'm going to block off that section, just kind of following along, and I'm creating a section here that's blocked off. Then there is the what's called with the horizon line, where the flames are kind of following along this horizon line, and we want to block the horizon line off because we don't want the lava flowing on the bottom to intermingle with the upper line. So we're going to block off that line. Alright, next we've got this section over here on the right hand side. You can see I'm adding, kind of hard to see, but I'm kind of going in and adding those things in there. And then these little sparkle flames, those are kind of their own section, so we're going to create a section there. So now we have two completely, or we have actually several different sections that we're going to animate. Let's start with the lava flow in the center. So first of all, we have our man here. I'll zoom in on him, and you can see the lava flow is coming around, and we're going to draw a couple little arrows and make it flow this direction. Okay, and we're going to keep that flow coming out this direction in here. We want this to sort of come out from this direction, and we want the lava now to flow down in this direction. And as you can see, I'm creating a trail, and the artwork's going to follow along that trail. So this little lava flow is going to kind of flow over here, and I think it would be cool to have a little swirl right here. Kind of see, it kind of looks like a swirl. So we're going to swirl that in and on itself right there. All right. Now we have this lava that's coming out this direction. It's going to kind of come up, sort of from the center of the image, and it's just going to flow over and down. And then this, as we get further and further away towards our horizon line, our image is going to flow just in a straight line. So a lot of the twists and turns that we added are going to go away. And I'm going to have the image pull away from the center of our main character. It's going to actually pull this direction, and then down towards our character, and then back out again. So what that's going to do is create a flow of lava that sort of flows away from our main character, who has either their spark has ignited or they're casting some massive spell. We're going to have this kind of flow down in and around these rocks a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing here and just kind of have this flow sort of around these rocks a little bit. And this is going to continue to flow sort of in this direction. All right, so let's zoom out. You can see we've added lots of animation markers. We did miss this little corner back in here. Let's hit play. We're going to see how that looks. So we've got some weirdness going on with our character's leg a little bit. You guys can see the lava is sort of flowing into his leg. It's making a weird image. We're going to pause that, and we're going to zoom in and take a look and see why that's happening. And I can already see why that's happening. If we look at our image, we have an animation marker that actually crosses the barrier. See that? And into our creature. And basically, all we want to do is just shrink that back to kind of keep his leg blocked out. And if we hit play again, that should fix that problem altogether. So just give it a moment here to load on the iPad, and we should start to see some motion here in just a second. And there we go. And I'm just kind of looking at how everything is working to see if I like the way it looks. And I do like the way everything is working. I'd like to speed up the animation that's down around our character's bottom a little bit more. But everything else I think looks pretty good. I'd like to slow the swirl down some as well. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go ahead and select our image, and we're going to grab the tails for all of these animations that are kind of flowing around our character's backside, and we're going to lengthen them. This lengthening actually is directly related to the speed that the image moves. So if we want an image to flow faster, then we add a little bit more tail to our images. So it's that simple. Now over here, I think my swirl was a little bit quicker than I like, so I'm going to shrink these swirls all down. And some of this in this background area here was a little quick. And we're just going to shrink all that down. And I think I like the way everything else looks. So this large area of flame that you see over on the left-hand side, we're going to work on that. Now, this will be a lot easier to animate as well. A lot of this fire is going to rise, and I like to have my fire rise. And if you look at the flames, they kind of tell you the direction that they want to go in. So, and I like to follow that. And I like to start with sort of a high-speed animation, and then slow it down as we get closer to the top a little bit. And a lot of this fire is all kind of expanding out and away from her main sort of expansion explosion kind of thing that she's got going on. And if you follow the flame, you'll see that it does in fact have sort of a direction that it wants to flow in, and you can kind of help it out just by drawing your animation lines in the direction that it looks like it is wanting to go in. And that's all we're doing here. We're just following those animation lines in the direction that we believe it looks like it wants to flow in. give it a second here to load and see what we think about that. Yeah, I like it. I think that they are probably a little faster than I like. And we're going to go ahead and remove a few of these anchor points in between these two images so they'll start to blend together a little bit. So we're going to space the anchors out just a little bit further, allowing some of the image to flow into the one ahead of it. So let's play that again. And that's looking a little bit better. We may touch up that anchored edge just a bit more. I don't see enough of the image flowing through. So let's drop these two middle anchors, these three middle anchors, and let's open that whole, actually let's just drop the top one as well. Let's just drop them all. Let's just drop them all. Let's drop all of those anchors and see what we think about the way this image flows into that image. I like it. A little fast, I think, still in this area right here, and the best way to deal with that is to take another animation marker. So the image where the sparks and then the background flame kind of come together, I think we've got just too much speed. And the best way to do that is to drop an animation marker in and just give it almost no speed. And that'll deal with that sort of border zone where the two images are merging, but it looks a little too quick. So we're gonna see how that looks, and that probably will deal with that area altogether. Yeah, I like the way that looks now. So we're gonna hold that right there, and we're gonna go ahead and step now into the center image, and we're actually gonna take a look at our character's body, and I'm gonna grab some anchors, and we're gonna anchor her face. We're going to anchor her hands and her arm. I'm going to go ahead and anchor out her body. Just like that. And there's really no foot down here, so we're going to leave that blank. And I may want to have some of these things flow around her body, and we'll work on that in a moment. But our main concern right now is this last big bright orange flame. We're going to go ahead and animate that. And this flame is going to rise from the bottom here. So we're going to start down at the bottom. We're going to have it push up between her legs, just like this. And we're going to have it wrap around itself, sort of in a zigzag motion as it rises. And we're going to pick that same thing up here. And then these two animations are going to kind of come together. And this one's going to force out this way. And then this one's going to force up into this way. And then this is going to split into this, and then I'm going to have a real soft swirl around this dark spot. And this image here, we're going to have it crisscross itself a little bit, and we're going to do the crisscross thing here as well. Going to come back in on itself, and then we're going to have a little swirl there. So let's play that and see how that looks. We're going to get a lot of motion here on the screen, but the things to watch out for are going to be weird blobs that move that don't look like they belong and things like that. So that's going to be our main thing. So as you can see here in the upper corner where the images are kind of splitting off, there's a little bit of weirdness going on with our animation. So we're going to pause that, and that is caused by these dark spots here. Now there's a couple ways to try to fix that. I'm going to try by putting an anchor into each one. I'm going to start with that. That sometimes that can be all it takes to solve the problem. We may actually animate around those dots and make a swirl, kind of looking like the fire is going down into them, if that doesn't solve the problem. So we'll just have to see what that does with the image. And just looking on the large screen monitor, the anchor it did okay, but I'm still getting some weird stuff that I don't like. So let's go ahead and go back into our animation. We're going to zoom in. We're going to pop those anchors out. Take each one of these anchors out. I'm going to come on in to this image a little bit, and I'm going to look at my actual animation markers, and I'm going to slow them down. Alright, so what we need to do here is we actually want to have this swirl around this dark pit right here. And this animation marker is going to go out this way. This one's kind of split off from the rest of these markers. We want these to be slow. And we're going to add an animation marker right here, just to have it kind of flow around in itself. And this other dark marker was another spot where we're having issues. So let's first shrink the speed up on these things here, and we'll do the same thing on our swirl. We're going to slow it down, pull this marker away from the swirl just slightly. Okay, and then our other trouble spot was right here, and you can see I have an animation marker right in the darkest area. Let's move that out of there. And we've got a really fast marker right there, so we're going to take that out. And we have this marker pushing right into the dark area, and we don't want to do that. Instead, we want to flow around this dark area. So we're going to go ahead and add some more markers and just have it flow right around the dark area. Now let's take a look at the image again, this time without the anchor. And we've sort of made it flow around those darker areas. And that should give us a good image. Give it a second here and see how it looks. Still pushing into this dark hole a little more than I like the one on the right hand side. So I am going to go ahead and put an anchor in this spot. So let's play that, and that's probably going to solve most of what is causing that.
Maybe make her move.
I'll work on her when I'm done in a minute. Go sit down, bud. Oh, that looks much, much better. Perfect, actually. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is over here along this dotted ridge that we've added, we're going to go ahead and animate some of the, we're going to move around some of these markers. This fire right here should be rising up from this edge. So we want to animate it to do that. We want it to sort of roll up that edge. And we kind of want the same thing going on right here. So we're going to do that. And that's probably it, other than animating our character in the center of the screen. Let's go ahead and play it again. And I think I'm pretty happy with the way this is coming out. This is looking pretty good so far. Alright guys, I think that's going to fix the problem we have with the little swirl. The last thing we're going to do with this image is we're going to actually animate the main character in the center of the image. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in on her. And there's a lot going on with her body, and we want some of that to be moving. So let's go ahead and pause the animation, and let's zoom in. Now we may have to, we may have to play a little bit with, with the anchor points. We'll see how it animates out, but we want this to be swirling in this direction. This is going to do the same thing. This is going to come from down. We're going to have a swirl here. swirl there and one there. And then we want this one to wrap up and around the character. And then this one I'm going to have go the opposite direction. Just like that. Now let's animate that and see. Let's play that and see how that looks. I already see a sort of a little weird artifact over by where her foot is. And that's probably something that we've moved. So let's zoom in here. Yeah, you can see that's being caused by this dot here, which we've accidentally stretched. Grab the end of this thing. There we go. Put that back where it belongs. And we're going to go ahead and remove some of these anchor points around the areas of her body that we actually want to animate, because they're going to keep these sections from flowing. So we're going to cut these out. That should be enough. That's anchor points right there might be close enough to cause an issue. Let's hit play and see how that looks. There we go. And you can see that's animating around her body now. A little weirdness going on between her legs, so we're going to stop that. And we're going to go ahead and delete this one anchor, or this one animation point right there. We're going to touch that section up with an anchor point. Just like that. And hopefully that's not enough to mess with the animation too much. Let's go ahead and play and see what that does for us. Now this image has got a lot of points added to it. Most of the time you're not going to be using these many points. This is sort of a little tougher an image to animate. You can see that flame is now moving around her body just wonderfully. Absolutely love that. Looks wonderful. So that is how you animate a magic card. Now the last thing that you're going to do is you'll want to export the image itself, and we're going to just hit pause here. To do that, you're going to touch the top hand. Oh, we just added an anchor right in the middle of our image. Let's delete that thing right there. We're going to touch the little export option, and I like to do custom export, and I like for my images to run for 12 seconds. And this is how I like to export mine out when I share them on Facebook. And we'll just save that to the camera roll. And now I'm going to leave you guys with a full version of the image that we just animated, so you can see how it looks. And if you want to see more animated cards, or if you're interested in learning how to use Plotograph a little more, please leave comments in the box below. Or if you have a card that you just want to see animated, leave me a comment and I will try and take the opportunity to do it. It only takes me about 10-15 minutes to really animate a card. This one was a little more complicated, but this is a great one to teach you guys with. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Catch you later. Bye-bye!